Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for joining after a long day of work, I'm sure for all of you. Hi, Danny. It's nice to see your face. She's got her glasses on. She must be in like post-work sweatpants mode.
Yeah, I look from business on the top and then no one needs to know down below. That's exactly right.
Same.
It's
Wink,
right.
wink.
Yeah. I did consider wine and brought a LaCroix, but it could switch at any moment. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I'm here for it.
That. Yeah. I just learned a new word from Alina, which is hard pants versus soft pants. I guess that's a Zoom thing.
She's wearing jeans today, and I said, "Ooh, hard pants." Ooh.
I know.
Hard pants.
Hard pants.
Yep. Yeah, that's
do.
part of my vocabulary. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You can use it.
I want everybody to appreciate that I put on hard pants just for this meeting.
Well, it's a soiree.
It is. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Jason. Hi, Kevin and Barbara. Hi, Betsy and my other friends who don't have their cameras on yet. Danielle and Melissa. And hi, Mary Ratliff. I see your hero cape dragging there. I'm going to go ahead and get started because A, I want to respect your time and make sure you get out of here right at 7 o'clock. And B, I have lots and lots to share. So we still have a couple dozen more people that are going to kind of join, and Alina will let them in as they get here. So I'm handing those controls over to you, Alina. But I'm going to go ahead and get started and share some really great information. So let me know if you can't see my slides. Are we good, Alina?
We're good.
All right. Well, welcome. As most of you know, you're here for a little celebration tonight to learn a little bit more about what we've been doing and what we've been up to this past year as a business, and also just express gratitude to everybody that we've had the opportunity to partner with over this last year. I'm so glad you're here, and I've just loved working with all of you over the past year. If you wouldn't mind just taking a minute and popping into the chat and letting us know who you are and what organization you're here with, because we won't take time for introductions, and it'll be a great way for your colleagues to see who else is here and the work we've been collectively doing over this last year. So if you wouldn't mind just popping that in the chat box. I don't know what you've all been up to this summer, but 2 weeks ago I did a thing. So I dropped off my daughter, Sophia, at Oregon State University, and she is settling into her dorm. She actually texted me today and asked me if I could ship clothes to her. Mind you, she's like 75 minutes away. So I told her that was a big no. And this is the other thing I do most of the summer for those of you that know me. Just to be really clear, the ground is down here. So this horse is several feet off the air. So in case you feel like your kids do dangerous sports, feel free to join me anytime during the summer, and we can experience rodeo together. So that's when I'm not with all of you celebrating kids and families and doing incredible work. This is what I'm doing. So this is what we'll try to get through in our short time tonight. Mostly, I would just want to express gratitude and thank people who I've gotten an opportunity to work with. We're going to do a give back tonight because that's really important in terms of my mission and vision for my business. And then talk a bit more about where we're headed and what we've learned in working with various organizations and how we might continue collaborating together. So first, just a big thank you to my team. Tegan is not here, but anything you receive from my business that looks beautiful is from Tegan. She makes everything polished and beautiful. And I just want to briefly introduce my community relations manager, Alina, if you'll give a wave. She joined our team in May, and she has really transformed things so that people don't have to wait for information from me. She's always at the ready. And making sure people are feeling like they're connected and included with my company. So it's been fabulous. Also, just a little bit of gratitude to my family. As many of you know, I've been kind of on a speaking tour this summer with various Head Start organizations all over the state, and that means a big sacrifice to them. And always, I want to just express gratitude for the physicians that I worked with at the Children's Health Alliance that initially encouraged me to roll out this curriculum, and to the educators that I have since worked with to expand the curriculum work that I do. So you'll see here on the far right, these are physicians taking part at a retreat at my farm, learning all about what it means to be trauma-informed and build resilience. And then this little picture here where my cursor is over is from this summer working with early educators. And I think this is from Hood River. And this is a teacher at the front of the stage teaching her colleagues how to co-regulate with me. So it was a pretty fun summer with Head Start. Most of you know me and in various capacities, but this is just a little bit more information about who I am in case you don't know these things. In addition to all the work that I do with all of you, I'm a coffee and wine lover and a podcaster and a murder mystery lover and an author. And most importantly, every day I am a mom and a wife and a daughter and a friend. So I am glad to be here with all of you. So this is what we've been up to this year and why we are so grateful. Over the past year, these are the organizations that we have partnered with. And I am first and foremost grateful to all of you to trust me with your organizations, to trust me with the professionals who work there, and to trust me inherently with the children that they all serve by providing them training and guidance. And so you'll see just lots of incredible groups of people here who are dedicated to kids in various spheres, whether it be in healthcare spaces, primary care spaces, early childhood spaces, K-12 spaces, and a whole bunch of other incredible organizations in between. So I am always, when I put together this slide, I was like, oh my gosh, I love what I do. Look at all of these incredible people I get to work with all year long. So just celebrating all of you first. We did a brand update this year for the podcast and for the business, shifting not just to medicine, but really any professional who's in the life of children and connecting with children as a champion. So that's been really exciting, incredible work and a lot of work for my team. As well as, if you see the little tired puppy here on the side, we've been growing learning collaboratives, now called the Connected Collaboratives. Right now, Alina helps me coordinate 11 different learning collaboratives every month for professionals. Some of you on this call have professionals who are in our learning collaboratives. We've done several 1 and 2 day speaking engagements and keynotes, developed an 8-week trauma-informed session with Prevent Child Abuse Oregon, who you'll hear from in just a moment, created supervision models with a trauma-informed lens for Oregon Department of Human Services, wellness initiatives for healthcare organizations and Head Start groups. We've hosted retreats at my farm. We've created a guidebook for professionals. Alina's actually going to pop that into the chat for all of you. I want all of you to have a copy of that. It's called My 10 Guiding Principles in Working with Children and Families. And it's a downloadable free PDF that you're welcome to share with professionals at your organization. And finally, writing a book for the American Academy of Pediatrics with my colleague, RJ. So we're busy. And we just turned in all of our final edits for the book and have a winner for the title. It's called A Trauma-Informed Pediatric Practice, a Resilience-Based Roadmap to Foster Early Relational Health. And I wish this was how neat and tidy my desk looked. Most of the summer, it looked more like this. So just trying to get myself out of all the piles of work that we've been doing. So I just want to take a minute and elevate a couple of organizations and say, thank you to them. And also it's how I want to give back. Giving back is a really important part of my business. And I feel honored and privileged to have the opportunity to be able to give back financially to organizations who really are in alignment with my mission and vision. So this last year and a half, almost 2 years, I've worked with Prevent Child Abuse Oregon to create a trauma-informed curriculum. I'm now offering that to Head Start, thanks to Head Start's match donation and also Prevent Child Abuse Oregon's work. But we work with birth to young adulthood in these learning collaboratives. And I just wanted to share a little bit with all of you who might be interested in having a trauma-informed group like this or series like this come to your organization, just what we cover and the data. So I'm going to share a lot of data with you tonight because I really want you to know that what you bring to your organizations has efficacy. But what we saw in these groups was significant growth in understanding trauma, increased understanding of historical and intergenerational traumas, and the ability to cultivate a more trauma-sensitive environment, as well as educating parents about resilience. In that time, we saw almost 80% of participants said they felt more skilled in their engagement with families. 90% of them wanted ongoing support, and 90% of them said they would recommend this training to other people. I won't read this slide to you because I don't like to talk PowerPoint at people, but these are some of the topics that we cover in the monthly learning collaborative for Prevent Child Abuse Oregon, and then also in my learning collaborative that I host called the Connected Collab. Just take a look at a moment for the topics that we cover in any given month. I have the privilege of sitting with professionals from all of your organizations and beyond, from across our state into Washington and in California. And these are the topics that your staff and teachers and physicians bring to me every month. Because they are overwhelmed, because they are curious, because there are unmet needs of children and families throughout our state and region. And these are the really tough topics that we tackle every month. And they show up with curiosity and bravery and a commitment to being multidisciplinary, which is really, really nice. And what it tells us mostly, from my standpoint as a business that's creating content, is that in the world of working with kids and families, professionals appreciate and benefit from support in communities. And what I'm also finding and what we're seeing through data is that it's increasing their competency and decreasing their feelings of burnout, which are both significant indicators of wellness. So even if we look broadly at things like workforce retention, these are the things we want to be offering folks so that they feel supported on an ongoing basis. Just a little bit of data from PCAO, and this is updated, Nicole and Barbara and other PCAO folks who are here with us tonight. With the funding from Prevent Child Abuse Oregon and the Oregon Department of Human Services, this summer, in this past year, we've provided learning collaboratives for over 160 professionals in our state, which means we have served approximately 4,310 families in the state of Oregon. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm really privileged that PCAO trusts me to do that with various organizations. This is just a quote I pulled from one of the participants in our groups, just saying it's just feeling so valuable and important for them to be part of this work and to feel more impactful. And so I just wanted to take a moment. As all of you know, we provided a link, and if possible, we want to just allow people an opportunity to give back. You don't have to do it tonight. You can do it anytime. But it's in alignment with my mission and vision to give back to communities. And so I just wanted to give Nicole Cunningham, who's the Executive Director for Prevent Child Abuse Oregon, just a moment to talk about who PCAO is, what they do, and some of our partnership. Don't feel pressured to donate if you don't feel comfortable. I'm glad you're here no matter what. My business will be donating a $2,000 match give back to Prevent Child Abuse Oregon. And one of the board members for Prevent Child Abuse Oregon has already agreed to match my give back with another $2,000 gift. So I can't start crying at this point in the presentation. So I'm gonna let Nicole talk.
I mean, I might start crying at this point in the presentation. So we'll take turns here. Thank you so much, Dr. Amy, for just giving me a few moments here to share. And thank you all for the opportunity to, be here with you all. And I just can't express the gratitude that we feel deeply enough. And so I will dive into what I have in the spirit of being brief here. But I'm Nicole Cunningham, and I am the Executive Director of Prevent Child Abuse Oregon, as Dr. Amy noted. I apologize that the lighting is coming in perfectly to make this super awkward, so I'll do my best. Prevent Child Abuse Oregon is a statewide nonprofit, and we are the Oregon chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. And we envision an Oregon where all kids and families have what they need to not just prevent abuse, but to thrive and flourish. We also really believe in the wisdom of Oregon's communities and are dedicated to advancing community-led solutions and strategies that promote health, build resilience, and uplift lived experience in everything we do. We're working at all levels in Oregon to help build an ecosystem of prevention and to strengthen the field of prevention, from policy work that advances primary prevention to programmatic work that really works to improve the coordination and the capacity of the amazing folks all across the state who are already doing the work to support kids and families. but I would be remiss not to name, right? None of our work would be possible if without our incredible partners, truly. We are so fortunate to have an amazing network of partners, one of whom we are all here to celebrate today, Dr. Amy, and the incredible work that you are doing. So I just wanted to share a little more about our partnership with Dr. Amy. Our work with her and with you and with your team, Dr. Amy, has been one of the most rewarding things that we've ever done. And we can't thank you enough, not only for your support, but also truly for the way that you are so authentic and able to connect to not just the mind, but the heart and the soul of why people come to this work and why they care about kids and families. So thank you for, every single champion that you have developed in this work, and every single opportunity that we've had to just come alongside you and build out, an even deeper opportunity to support the kids and families in Oregon. So I wanted to name that the support from tonight's fundraiser will go directly towards helping us to continue the development and expansion of this trauma-informed professional consultation series that Dr. Amy named in her overview of our work together. And we really can't underscore enough the impact that this series is having on the providers in Oregon who are serving kids and families, right? They are finding community and care and connection and education and safety and relationship and all of those things in their ability to have that support from you, Dr. Amy, in partnership with us. That's exactly what we're going to keep doing, is building that series and continue building out our shared capacity to really strengthen the actual services that are provided to kids and families in this state. So thank you for everything.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I could go on and give all of you lots of stories about the work that I'm doing in these groups of multidisciplinary professionals. They really are incredible. And like I said, they come every month with curiosity and compassion. So it's been really incredible. We just launched the last learning series with Oregon Head Start. And so we have over 40 professionals joining us. So that's been really cool. Anyway, I also want to just take a minute to mention Head Start. So there are several people here tonight from Head Start. You'll see your organization here. And I just wanted to give a deep amount of gratitude to all of the leaders in Head Start organizations from across our state. This summer, with Alina's help, I was able to travel all over the state to give various in-person speaking engagements. And it was incredibly meaningful and impactful for the work that we're all doing. And so I just wanted to thank them. Just a little bit of information and then a heartfelt video that I'll show you. By summer's end, we had worked with over 7 different sites and 1,000 professionals that work in the lives of children for Head Start. And so with Alina's encouragement, you probably want to turn up your volume on your computer here if you have the volume low, because my voice is kind of soft and the ocean is in the background. But this was just a little moment that I captured after I finished the 8th training in about 7 weeks and traveled probably, I don't know, hundreds of hours all over our state. And so I just want to share this little video reflection. It's just a minute long here.
Well, friends, today is the last day of my speaking tour engagement, and here I am at the beach, Cannon Beach, where I trained almost 100 early Head Start and Head Start teachers today. So over the past 4 weeks, I've trained at 7 different sites, averaging between 100 and 200 early educators at every single site, teachers and early educators and home visitors and nutritionists and transportation directors and administrators. And if I'm doing my math, that means that over the last 4 weeks, I've trained over 1,000 people that work in the lives of children. I'm pretty proud of that. That means if each of those early educators work with at least 20 families or touch the lives of 20 families, that's 20,000 kids. 20,000 kids whose adults in their life know what trauma looks like and what to do about it. That's pretty amazing.
All right. If I would have had to say that out loud again, I definitely would have started crying. So thank goodness for videos. This quote just spoke to my soul. And as I began talking about some of this work around Cards for Connection, I'll just read it briefly to you. It says, you know that how every once in a while you do something and the little voice inside you says, there, that's it. That's why you're here. And you get a warm glow in your heart because you know it's true. Do more of that. And so that's what I'm on a mission to do. And I'm happy to do it with all of you. So I just want to share for some of you that may be less familiar with my work, how we got here into some of the curriculum work that I've done and some of the trainings. At the very beginning, I know you saw some slides where I was training pediatricians who I continue to teach and train, as well as family practice docs and primary care docs and OBGYNs. So the origin story of my curriculum that I'll be talking about, called Cards for Connection, started with the Children's Health Alliance and these, brave pediatricians who partnered with me and said, we need to know what to do about trauma. And I said, well, we need to strengthen families and build those buffering mechanisms. And we all decided we would focus on building resilience. And Dr. Dean Mashofsky said to me in a meeting, you know what I really want, Amy? Can you just create a curriculum for me, birth to adulthood, that at every single well child visit that we can bolster resilience and mitigate stress and harm? And I was like, sure, I can do that. And so that's kind of what set this into motion. And so that was version 1.0, and that was back in 2016 and 2017. And we're on version about 10.0 in my business. And we've expanded the work, not just to pediatricians, but to family practice and other primary care doctors. We're starting prenatally with OBGYNs, and most recently have expanded this to make sure that other professionals such as early educators, home visitors, parent educators, K-12 educators, nurse home visitors, et cetera, can have access to this material. And I think I'll show you in a moment why it's important to me that we expand this to other champions. This is me in Umatilla Morrow Head Start, celebrating the work of the transportation team. A man shared with me that day that he's pretty certain that he's the only one that tells every child when they get on the bus in the morning that he's really glad they're there. And one of the only people that tells every child at the end of the day, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. And he didn't know that there was a name called Positive Childhood Experiences, that people like him in children's life make a difference. And he was super proud. So that's been heart work that I've been doing. So I want to identify, first of all, the problem. And that is no news to any of you that there are compounding stressors in our state and in our country, especially for families with less resources, and capacity within organizations are already strained. Pediatricians are being asked to do more than ever, and teachers and early educators are having their list lengthened all the time. We also know that behavior is more complex than ever, especially in this post-COVID era. Trauma and chronic stress is manifesting in kids and teens at higher rates than we've ever seen, and yet we don't have mental health resources and capacities to meet the needs of all the kids and families that need help. And there are a lot less tools that are available, which means we need more capacity for social emotional health and relational health. And so if you are, within your organization, realizing that behavior is more complex than we've ever seen it, and trauma is at a high rate, and yet you don't have the tools and resources to meet that need, first of all, you're not alone. That's what I'm hearing from people across the state and across the country. And when I talk with the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they're saying the same thing for professionals across our country. And so I think we need more support for the people that support kids. And that means early educators and medical systems, because those are the systems where children spend most of their time. And I think we can increase the internal capacity for these professionals that helps bridge the gap for the needed mental health resources. So right now we're doing several pilots with various groups across our state. And I just want to share a little bit of data around this. What we're learning so far. So this is some pre-data right here. This is new information as of 2 weeks ago. It's a pilot that I'm running right now with behavioral health clinicians. And for those of you that aren't familiar, behavioral health clinicians are often mental health therapists, licensed psychologists, or counselors who are embedded into primary care systems. And these are BHCs who are focused on both pediatric clinics as well as family practice clinics. And when we ask them pre-training on Cards for Connection if they feel comfortable providing interventions to meet the needs of infant and toddlers' mental health needs. You can see that only about 20% of them, or 1/5 of them, felt like they strongly agreed that they felt like they had the capacities to meet the needs of those children. Most of them did not feel confident or comfortable in any capacity meeting the needs of kids in that age. And when we asked them if they knew and understand some brief interventions that would help build resilience and strengthen relational health, 75% of them said they need more tools. They need more resources to build these internal capacities so that not only can they build resilience and strengthen relational health, but it will increase their knowledge and competency regarding social emotional health. So this goes back to the origin story, right? I created this curriculum called the Cards for Connection because inherently, as a business, we believe that every interaction with a child matters. That we believe that professionals already have what it takes to deliver the skills and resources needed to make a lasting impact on the lives of kids and caregivers. And whether you're a pediatrician or an educator or home visitor or nurse or other health professional, these cards are designed to bridge those gaps, spark meaningful conversations, and strengthen relationships that build social, emotional, and relational health. So the Cards for Connection is, like I said, now in probably version 10.0, but what they are essentially are prescriptive cards that enhance relational health and impact social emotional health. And it truly focuses on dyad work. So first, between the provider or educator, whomever the professional may be. So you could fill in there home visitor, nurse, early educator, parent advocate, and a parent or caregiver. And that's a model that is then represented in their work with the model for the dyad between the caregiver and the child as well. All of the interventions that I teach are strength-based, and all of them have underpinnings of research-based, trauma-informed interventions. These interventions that are introduced throughout a child's life are essentially 100 small doses of connection points that we know mitigate stress and decrease adversity. They are also developmentally appropriate, seen across the lifespan, and begin prenatally. So we've gotten a lot of provider and educator feedback at this point. And I wanted to just share a little bit more about well, what are these cards and what do they look like? Every card is similar in that on the front, it has just education for the professional that's working with the child. It's meant to be interactive with that child or with that family, depending on the environment that they're in. It has education about things that specifically mitigate stress and trauma for kids. And what we know is if we can increase the internal capacities of the professionals, they can bridge that gap and begin to teach families really valuable tools that help build relational health. So this happens to be an example of a 2-year-old card for a well toddler visit. It can also be used. The cards are adapted for educators as well. And this is around social emotional development. So it's just basically, if I was a physician, I would be talking with a parent about why social emotional development is important and what happens if it's not there or present. And then how do I do it? How can I do this at home when I'm not here? How can I model this to the parents in the exam room? Or if I'm a home visitor, right, I'm going to be talking to the parent about, this middle part where it says great questions to ask. These are inherently encouraging conversations around intergenerational trauma. So if a home visitor's at home, they might be saying to the parent, it's okay to dislike your toddler's behavior. It's okay to not know how to handle temper tantrums. Or for a parent to say, I feel like I might lose it when my toddler has a meltdown. What do I do? So it's normalizing experiences for parents that might otherwise create harm if not addressed. On the back side of every card, you'll see kind of what we call these resilience interventions. And I want to make sure that we don't mistake brief intervention with one and done. These are meant to be done across a child's lifespan at every encounter that someone has with them. So that's what I mean when I say 100 small doses. So this is just an example so that you can see how it might work. So if I am a parent educator, I'm talking to this parent about what do I see? Maybe I see crying or refusing or laying on the floor. And then I want to know, what else might be going on that's making that behavior manifest? And so it's just a little guided worksheet and reflection. There's also some information on the back of this card that is called I Love You Rituals, that just increases that unconditional love and positive response that we know builds attachment. The bottom line is that all of these cards, the cards for connection, are essentially that. We know that relational health is the #1 predictor for long-term health. And so anytime we can enhance relational health and connection, we are creating positive, healthy development for a child throughout their life's trajectory, which essentially helps them be healthier human beings later on in their life, develop positive attachment and long-term relational health patterns that we know transition well into their adulthood. Here's a little close-up of another card, just for those of you that might be curious. This happens to be for 3-year-olds and beyond. This is around building family strengths. I really believe that families already have inherent strengths to help them heal, and that parents want to do well and kids want to do well. And so when we really foster family strengths and connections, it helps the child thrive and the family feel like they've been nurtured. And so again, lots of education on the front side of the card. And by the way, in case you're curious, all of the cards are being translated into Spanish right now. So for all of our professionals, they'll have access to the cards in more than one language. And then here's an example of the back of the card, just encouraging a family to celebrate strengths and connection. For those of you that may be familiar with the Positive Childhood Experiences study, we know with a lot of research right now backing it, that positive childhood experiences and building on those, talking to families about those at every encounter actually offsets early trauma. That we can actually heal and help intergenerational trauma that kids and families experiences, even when they have a very high, what we call ACE score. So the research is showing us right now that even if a family member or a child has an ACE score of 4 or more, when we build positive childhood experiences, we can mitigate stress and harm. That's exactly the hope of what these cards are doing and what the interventions are. So let me show you just a little bit of data. This data is coming from our first cohort of home visitors and parent educators from the Clackamas County Children's Commission. And we did a little bit of pre-post work with them. And so what you'll see here is the left side of your screen is pre-data and the right side of the screen is post-data. So we asked them, do they understand how trauma looks in children and families? Obviously, what we want to see is lots of color on the right-hand side of the graphs, because that means they have a really firm understanding. And so what we saw pre-post data from before training in Cards for Connection and then after training in Cards for Connection, that they had significant gains in understanding what trauma looks like in kids and families. It's important that professionals know what trauma is before they take steps to mitigate it or build resilience or screen or provide questionnaires. We have to first just know what it looks like. And then when we asked them if they felt comfortable providing interventions to meet infant and toddlers' mental health needs, and the reason this is focused on infant and toddlers is because this was for an early Head Start home visiting program. And their parent educators. I know some of you also on this call are familiar with the social emotional health metric that's coming up through our state that's really focused on the 0 to 5 population as well. So this is just some compelling data where these professionals were before when we asked them about whether or not they felt comfortable providing interventions, and then where they were afterwards. So you see significant growth. I'd like everybody to be at 4s and 5s, so I'm a little bit picky that there's still some people at 3s, but we'll get there. And then when we ask them, do you know how to utilize brief intervention strategies that build resilience and strengthen relational health? You'll see at the beginning of our time together, about 75% of folks said, I have some, but I need more. And 10% of them said, I don't feel comfortable at all. Post, there were 76% of the group that said, I have a lot of tools and strategies now. And 23% said, I have some and still need more. Nobody was still uncomfortable providing the services, which I love seeing. And finally, do you feel confident addressing behavioral challenges? For any of you working with kids right now, you know that this is one of the primary things that's coming up in classrooms, in home visits, in pediatric and family practice offices. And so at first, when we asked them, do you feel confident addressing behavioral challenges? 42% said they agree. 40% of people were neutral. Some disagreed. And we changed that significantly over the course of our training, where 53% of them agree and 43% of them strongly agree that now they felt like they could address behavioral challenges for infants and toddlers and their caregivers. I want to just underscore here, when we look at this data from this group, I've yet to see data like this that has this much of a significant growth in internal learning capacities. This particular group is also part of an ongoing learning collaborative after their training, so they can continue to reinforce information and data and be in a trauma-informed environment with other professionals. So it's been my pleasure working with them. Let me just pause. I don't know, Danny, if you want to say anything about the training in Clackamas or how that's affected your early educators.
I would love to. I want to offer that when we look at that pre and post data, I'm the director of Family and Community Connections for Clackamas County Children's Commission. And our home visitors for our Healthy Families Oregon team and our Early Head Start home-based team were asking for support around supporting families, specifically around mental health, social emotional health, saying basically what Amy had said. We're seeing an increase in need. We're seeing some wait times in the community to try to get folks connected to support, and we don't know what to do in the waiting with families as we're home visiting. And that was the impetus for the conversation with Dr. Amy, asking her to come and actually, I think the original ask was to come and do a couple of triage conversations, and it turned into a training with the entire team. But what I want to offer is that what's so compelling for me about that data is the pre-data. That's not just a group of brand new home visitors. There are seasoned staff in that pre-data, people who have been here for, some of them, 20 years. And when you look at that original pre-data, they're evidencing a lack of confidence in their skills. And really it's coming out of, I think, I'm going to use the word overwhelm, a sense of overwhelm in what they're seeing and how to carry it. And when you look at the significant turnaround for our organization, it was big enough that we went back and said, how do we systematize this, what we just learned? How do we put this in our supervision systems, in our reflective practice systems? This is big. What it did for the confidence and for the conversation in our organization is big. And we're thrilled to be a part of the learning collaborative that's coming out of this, the Connecting Collaborative. And we just got started. So we have a group now who's prepared, ready to go. Home visiting is off and running. And I think we're just starting to see what this is going to do for us. I'll also add, we started collecting data differently now, measuring what happens when we go into these homes. We use these cards. What do some of those outcomes look like? So we're starting conversation with Dr. Amy as well to make sure that we can track this. When you see results that big, you start to get curious about what this is going to do for children and families over time.
Well, that makes me so excited. Thank you so much.
Me too. Me too.
It's been really compelling data. The next thing I was going to share is just a short video testimonial from a group of physicians that I've worked with, but I want to just pause because I've thrown a lot of data out, and I will happily send slides or data to any of you. Some of us are more data driven than others. Some of us are more relational driven, but let me just pause and see if anybody on the call has any questions about the work that we've been doing, or specifically the curriculum or the curriculum rollout. I'm really good at the Zoom 1000, Zoom 2000, Zoom 3000.
I was just going to ask how long the training was in Clackamas County.
Yeah, great question. So the training in totality, if it's for just birth to 5, takes about a day and a half. Clackamas County decided to add on another half day because they wanted also workforce wellness initiative in there. So we spent the first half of the first day just taking care of them, filling up their cups, talking about burnout, how to address stress and overwhelm, how emotions work through their body. it really was a beautiful way to then launch them into learning about the cards for connection. I think they felt like their cups were filled up. The training to learn the full curriculum, prenatal through 18, takes 2 days for a live in-person training. And then you'll see here in a moment, we also have a digital product. So there may be groups or individuals that would prefer to either learn at their own pace or as an organization kind of trickle out the information over time. And so there's a digital version available for Cards for Connection training as well. The other, I would say, unique thing that we've done with another group. So with Care Oregon, and some of you may recognize Care Oregon as a large CCO in our state, they wanted their BHCs trained in person, but over time. And so we had to figure out a hybrid model of that. And so we're doing an 8-week virtual 2-hour each time session. So it'll be about 16 hours of training for them over between now and December. But yeah, Barbara, that's a great question. So basically, if you just want to focus on 0 to 5, it takes about a day and a half, prenatal to 18, a full 2 days in-person training. And then with that, you're automatically put into a learning collaborative. If you do the live in-person training, you get that learning collaborative for free for 6 months, because it's really important to me that there's some ongoing support for a period of time. Yeah. Great question. Any other questions? It's good. You're asking questions, by the way, on behalf of about 138 other people who registered who will get the recording. So no pressure. Yeah. Sorry, Danny.
I just want to offer one more anecdote if I can. Another benefit that's come out of this is really thinking through, I spoke earlier about the systems. So what are the systems that we use to support families? And then how do we integrate these cards and our learning from this training into those systems? And an example of that is thinking about when we go into a home and we do maternal mental health screening. One of the things that we've learned from Dr. Amy is thinking about not leaving the parent with that screening, but leaving the parent with a resiliency, a strengths-based conversation. So using this card in tandem with a screening is another way that it's caused us to really shift the service, the way we think about services and approaching children and families in a much more trauma-informed, strengths-based way. So it was another benefit of the program.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. And I think for both educators and physicians, when we add that component, they see families engage at a higher rate, because we're not just questioning and asking about adversity, but we're also saying, what's going well? What's going right? What are you already doing? Tell us more about what makes you an incredible, strong family. How do you celebrate your culture, your faith, your ethnicity, your community? All of that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate it. All right, well, let me share with you just a little video from a group of physicians. And in this video, you might want to turn up your volume again. Some of them are soft-spoken. There's a pediatrician, a family practice, and also a nurse practitioner. So you'll hear from kind of a wide variety of medical background folks here. But I think the video is just about 4 minutes long. And then I think we're almost wrapped up from there. So thank you all for your patience. And all right, Alina, let me know if for some reason the sound is not working.
I think one of the great things about Cards for Connections and the interventions in general is that families are responding very positively. It gets them engaged in the visit. I love that the Cards for Connection are giving us tangible things that we can do for our families to help them know how to promote and stimulate their kids' development.
I like that it formalizes and organizes things that I've thought about for a long time. She's put into a practical way of doing things that I've always tried to just grasp out of the air too. So I really enjoy, like, oh, I'm going to jump into this tool now and I have a way to go.
I think there's many things I really love about them. They're so practical. You can use them as a good conversation starter, and they're age specific, and they help me to build a closer connection with my patients and families.
It certainly has impacted my practice, and part of what I'm hoping is that as these interventions get more embedded into practice, that we're going to be able to prevent a lot of the mental health and behavioral health problems that we see in our kids at older ages. I'm hoping that with time, we're going to have stronger, more resilient kids that don't have a lot of the challenges that the teens of today have.
Situations that I was able to kind of talk through in this retreat, I'll be able to use it with my teenagers who are not doing well, not connecting with their family, not connecting at school. I feel like I have ways to talk to them to kind of bring them out a little bit more. And I love the tools of reflection babies. And that's an easy and fun way with families that we start that talk.
I think that the cards help to talk about topics that were hard to talk about before, and really help break it down into small things that are doable for the primary care physician. I've had good feedback from my families, particularly about these topics, which I feel like I was never really getting into before the cards foundation.
I think that the past model of well visits was really a one-way information flow, where we were, again, just sort of directing parents what to do in terms of keeping their kids safe. But this really helps to lead the families in and engage with the visit and be excited about the visits and get something valuable out of the visits in a way that really didn't happen before.
I've always known that connection really predicted health. Having this tool will help me explain that to patients a lot better. Rather than it being a gut thing, it'll be like, no, we have evidence that you're doing this, and this kid having a lot more people besides just you to go to will build their resilience and their ability to stay healthy throughout their life.
There are so many things we have to do as primary care physicians, pediatricians, and the list is just overwhelming. But I feel there's so much value in these particular topics that it's worth the investment.
Some of Amy's prior retreat participants have referred to this as the most important medicine. And I think that burnout as a provider really comes from not finding meaning in our work. This is definitely the antidote for that. This is making our work far more meaningful. And our families are loving the visits where we do the interventions. And I've had families that come in for a subsequent visit and they ask me, what are we doing today? What's next? And so I think it really invigorates the practice and invigorates the well visits in a way that you will be surprised and happy if you start implementing them. And again, really brings some important meaning to your work. So give it a try. It's actually going to take things off of your plate eventually.
Just think we all win in health because we care about people. When we were kids and when we were in med school and nursing school, we wanted to help people. And there's so many steps that we have to do to get there that it feels like we've moved away from the person. This gets you back into that relationship. This makes you important in their lives in a different way than we do a lot of things. So I think it will help to rekindle that desire to help people and that belief in your effectiveness and being able to help people.
Okay, so thanks for watching that. It's also a really big pull to come and do your retreat at my farm, by the way. So you see lots of pretty pictures there at the farm as well. So I hope that felt meaningful to listen to. And I hope whether or not you're in the field of education or in the field of medicine, you see how impactful some of this work has been for professionals. So just the last couple of things that I would say in this work is proposing that we start small. And by small, I mean with littles. In the most impactful work that we can do. We know that each year, the United States spends $748 billion on healthcare costs and lost productivity caused by adversities. And if our nation had trauma-informed policies and practices to reduce adverse childhood experiences, the federal government would save $217 billion annually. Not to mention the long-term health costs of having poor relational health in early trauma without those really important buffering mechanisms. So hopefully we've given you some information with data and testimonials. We're also very realistic that some of the biggest barriers are just time and money. And so hopefully you've heard about how it's an offset for time and how important it is. And part of the reason I'm bringing stakeholders together today, and also this, recorded video will go out to other stakeholders at other organizations, is to encourage us to look also beyond time and money to begin to work together to have this hugely important impact on kids. So that's me in New York City with my daughter. A couple of weeks ago, we found an old school telephone booth. So I'm just going to, Alina will put in the chat box ways that you can set up a time to talk with me about more information, data, or maybe even how we can do cards for connection or other types of training at your organization. I really do believe this is the most important medicine. I really do believe this is where we should be starting. So let me just pause. Hopefully Alina's putting all that good stuff in our chat box. So let me just pause and see if look at that. I'm 9 minutes ahead of schedule. That never happens. Y'all know I love talking. So let me just pause and see if there are other questions or comments from folks. Some of you I know really well and I've worked with, and others I know are newer to this work. There's no bad question, no wrong question. Yeah, Betsy.
I know there's like an artificial hand to raise that could not find. Do you imagine a future in which you would work on preparing a train the trainer sort of curriculum? Because I'm thinking about, those who are educating physicians or other healthcare providers, and whether there's a way to think about curriculum for them.
Yeah. So you're answering the question that a lot of people like the board at Prevent Child Abuse Oregon have asked, right? Probably my number one worry is that I would be the bottleneck for this information being disseminated out into the world. And I don't want that to happen. So currently I'm in the process of training 4 consultants. It's really important to me, first of all, that group is diverse and that it represents the people who they're working with. And so we're working really hard to create diverse consultants. And we're having our first training, Betsy, next Friday. First, what I'll do is I'll have them facilitate some of the learning collaboratives so that I can trust their fidelity to the cards, and also just how they're engaging in the care and keeping of professionals that trust me with their organizations and with kids. And then from that, I'll be able to kind of self-select some of the first train the trainer folks. But the other thing that I'm hearing from other organizations, maybe like yours, Betsy, certainly like Clackamas County Children's Commission, is how could we do a train the trainer within our own organization so that person becomes the champion within our organization? And so that could happen at an educational space. It could happen in a medical clinic, for instance, or in a clinic, for instance, that has multiple sites. The benefit to that, so the answer is yes, I'm committed to doing that, and I think it's possible. The benefit to doing that is because there's no one like the people that are working within your organization to help your organization the most. And so for me, as an academician and a curriculum developer, it's a matter of just making sure there's high fidelity to the interventions that are in there and that they're being taught in a way that's trauma informed and can really have that reach. So it's a long answer to your question. And the short answer is yes. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. All right. I'm happy to stick on the call. I know that some of you are more shy than others about asking questions in large groups, so I'll hang on the call here for just a couple of minutes. For those of you that might have more questions, you'll get the recording after this within the next 24 hours. You'll also get a one-pager around the cards for connection and the pricing model. You'll also get the 10 guiding principles and the link to book a call if you have more questions, or people within various organizations of yours have more questions. Did I miss anything, Alina? All the links are in the chat box too. She just reminded me. So I just want to go back to where we started, right? That was a lot of information. Thank you all. This last year, all of you that are on this call in various formats have trusted me with your staff, who inherently are trusting me. That means to affect the lives of thousands of children in our state and in this part of our country. And I don't take that work lightly, nor does anybody on my team. I just am so grateful every day that I get to do the work that I do. And just as a sign off to all of you, what I'll say is, when I was a resident and working with some of the most traumatized youth in our state, I remember a little girl that her only treatment goal was to get her hands dirty because she had been so horribly abused every time she got dirty and messy. And so when I had the opportunity, not only to further the work that I did in my private practice, but to train other professionals on how we might respond to a young girl like that, it's been a pretty incredible honor of mine to be able to do that for kids and families in our state and our country. And the partnerships that I have with all of you and with the people that will watch this recording later have allowed me to have an impact on kids and families that I never dreamed that I would have. And so I still see that little girl's face every time I roll out this curriculum. And I thank all of you for letting me do that. Yeah. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you all for your work. Thanks for trusting us with your people.
Thank you, Dr. Amy. Talk to you soon.
Nicole, thank you so much.
This is
And Kevin,
fantastic.
Kevin, thank you for being a superhero and matching the donation. I really appreciate you.
I'm trying to be anonymous here.
Oh, sorry. Okay. We'll delete that from the recording. I'll stop the recording.
Cattle prices